Good afternoon. I'm Doug Shipman, Atlanta City Council President, calling to order this meeting regularly scheduled of the Atlanta City Council Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. I would ask the Deputy Clerk to call the opening roll.
Council President Doug Shipman.
Present.
Council members Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland.
Here.
Keisha Sean Waits, Jason H. Winston.
Here.
Amir Faroki.
Here.
Brian D. Amos.
Here.
Jason Dozier.
Present.
Lidiane Bakhtiari. Alex Wan. Howard Shook. Mary Norwood. Dustin Hillis. Andre L. Boone. Marcy Collier Overstreet. Antonio Lewis. Quorum present.
Thank you. Next up, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda without any changes. Moved by Councilmember Lewis, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Any discussion on the motion to adopt the agenda? We can do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection to the motion to adopt? Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to adopt the agenda.
Unanimous consent, 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Today, for our invocation, we are honored to have with us the Reverend Dr. Clifton Dawkins. He is the lead pastor of True Worship Christian Fellowship Church. He's the founder of the Dawkins Community Center, and he is the Fulton County chaplain. I am very pleased to have him come forward.
Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, we are grateful for this day, for your grace and continued mercy upon our lives. We pray now your blessing upon those who are present. Bless our servant leaders here. Give them your strength, your guidance, and your wisdom. Let not our actions be anathema to you. Bless them now. It is in your name that we humbly pray. Amen.
While we're in the spirit of reflection, I've just asked if there are any who would want to be remembered. Councilmember Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President. We lost, the Adamsville community in District 10 lost a strong community advocate, Miss Margaret Virginia Butler, who lived in the Boulder Park Estates community nearly 60 years, a graduate of David T. Howard High School, a native Atlanta, someone who attended many town hall meetings and assisted in the architecture of the C.T. Martin Natatorium. She is the mother of our Deputy COO, LaShondra Burks. To her father and to Miss Margaret's husband, Harley Sr., Trina, and Harley Jr., the entire family, we extend our deepest sympathies to you all. Also, we lost Miss Frances Carolyn Coverson, who is the mother of Donald Jumper, who so ably worked in District 10 and throughout District 9 and 12 during his time at the City of Atlanta. She was a teacher at Burgess Peterson Academy for nearly 30 years, and we lost her over the weekend. And lastly, Mr. Alfred Scott, we would like to give condolences to his family. Mr. Scott was the husband of the former Supreme Basilisk of Alpha Kappa Alpha, Mary Shy Scott, father-in-law to Evelyn Scott, who is on our staff. So to Alfredine, Arthur, Evelyn, and the entire family, you have our deepest sympathies. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilor Bakhtiari.
Thank you. I would like to make sure that we take a moment of silence for Miss Patricia Ann Moore, who was a congregant of the Big Bethel AME Church family who passed on August 29th. I know that Pastor Foster and his congregation are hurting over this loss, and I want to make sure that we keep Sister Patricia Ann in our prayers as well as her family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we all keep the thoughts and prayers of the Atlanta University Center community in our minds. Specifically, I know we all know about the 2 students that lost their lives at Morehouse College over the weekend, Hugh Douglas and Christian Files Jr., who were students that were students at Morehouse, and unfortunately, with all the car crashes over the weekend, lost their lives. But in addition to that, Ms. Melanie Wofford, who was a part of Atlanta University Center Neighborhood Association, she chaired the Friends of Cleopas Johnson Park and has been so integral to shaping that community and making it what it is. So between the students and between the residents, that community is hurting pretty hard this week.
Any others? With those named and unnamed, would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do not have any proclamations, commendations, or other special awards today, so we will move directly into remarks by the public. Give me just a moment while I get the sheets. All right, I would just remind everyone you have up to 2 minutes unless you have time yielded from others, which I'll indicate. First up today will be Jeremy Malone. And again, my apologies in advance if I mispronounce anyone's name. Please do correct me and the record. You have up to 2 minutes.
How you doing, Council? This is my first time, so bear with me, and I ask not to be interrupted until I'm finished. My name is Jeremy Malone. I'm a local resident of the Atlanta area community. I'm speaking from personal hardship, also the hardship of the Black community. From thorough research, we know that Atlanta is segregated by society, meaning members that belong to any secret society, frat, sorority, seen and unseen, get to benefit from the city budget, while the common people suffer hardship or forced to beg for jobs and funding. Even some mothers are forced to sell their child or children to sexual slavery due to the hardships of Atlanta. Atlanta has become a lawless, LGBTQ-friendly, sexual predator oppressive regime by using local funds to fund Cop City to control and dictate the local government to look the other way. Atlanta is a breeding ground for forced child pornography, same-sex propaganda, and if any person speak out against the corruption, they are forced into exile by human travelers in their community. The exploitation of the youth and the misuse of federal funding is an outcry from the local Atlanta community. This city is full of perverts and pedophiles. Who is responsible? The Black Widow Blue Lodge Freemasons, Atlanta chapter of the LGBTQ International Order of the Eastern Star. Statistics show that Atlanta has produced more child pornography than any other city or country in the whole entire world this year alone. I do not wish to be represented as a part of that Atlanta, so I ask this council, what are they going to do about this sincere concern of writ, if this writ has merit?
You have 30 seconds left.
I'm done right now.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next will be Henry Jordan.
Giving honor to the Spirit of God to everyone that's here. The thief cometh not but to steal, to kill, and destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. St. John 10:10. Gain swift, you steal from me, you ask to be killed. Jesus says, repay my income will give you life. Christ suggests $1,000 a week or $4,000 a month. A high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. Proverbs 2nd chapter 14th verse. The sluggard is the habitually lazy person. The Lord said the majority of the people who work in the Atlanta City Hall are very proud. Jesus, help me not to be slothful, to live for you. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which called thee by thy name, am the God of Israel. Isaiah 45th chapter 3rd verse. I have even called thee by thy name indicates that Cyrus has been deliberately named in advance to reassure the Jews that God of Israel indeed is still in control of human events. Having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Christ. 1 Peter 3rd chapter 16 verse. A good conscience refers to a clear conscience that is one void of offense. Jesus give me and you the power to live holy in Christ's eyesight. God said, save myself for a problem that's coming when I can work at Cop City. And if I attempt to work now, I'll be too tired to help when the problem comes. You want Christ's help, because flesh help will give out. But Christ can never give out.
Thank you. Next will be John Fisher. Due to yield of time, you'll have up to 4 minutes.
So you got my minutes. Go ahead, you better.
My name is John Fisher, Georgia Coalition for Fair Housing Justice. We're dealing with mortgage identity theft, which is a federal crime. We're dealing with houses that have been taken from people that have lived in houses 30, 40 years. They don't have mortgages or anything. In that process, houses are paid for, houses are foreclosed on, and they come back and find out 2 and 3 years later that they still own these houses. Now, our group has formerly was National Action Network at one point. We have expanded in a process where we have now gotten 1,400 people across the United States in the same process of what's going on. We've got documents that come in for foreclosure, auction fraud, and bid rigging within the city of Atlanta and DeKalb County. Over 64 people have pleaded guilty to foreclosure, auction fraud. We're dealing with rent control. We're dealing with a whole lot of issues like on Fairburn Road and process where people are losing their rights for services and everything else to process. I just want to let everybody know that's what we're dealing with, the deal. Now, you're looking at a person that's been interviewed by the United States Department of Justice 6 times by the, not the DOJ, but the FBI. We have FBI case numbers in the process. We've done videos. We've met with District Attorney Sherrod Boston and other district attorneys in the area in the process. We've got people 93 years of age that are losing houses that they have been living in for 50, 60 years, and they haven't done anything in the process. The issue is out of control, and that's what's going on. That's what we're letting you aware of today, that there is an actual investigation that goes on in the process. And the state of Georgia is absolutely the worst state when it comes to illegal foreclosures in the process. The rent control issues are unreal. We have people that are paying stuff, they're being thrown out of the house. We do not want to end up like MacArthur Park in Los Angeles, where you've got people staying in Piedmont Park because they have nowhere else to go. So that's basically what we've got to deal with today in the process. Now, I got an extra 2 minutes from this young lady right here, but the issue is simply this: we have a major, major problem that was going on. I have a house that has 5 security deeds, 4 different mortgages, and 3 different closing dates, and they can't explain why they foreclosed on my house when it was never listed on a foreclosure list. My house literally was stolen. And I've got a group just here in the metro Atlanta of 190 people, I'm sorry, 290 people alone that have the same problem. And the thing about it is we can prove each and every one of them, because we can prove that we loan a house. So we have a process for that. And I just want to let you all know that's where we are today, but there are a lot of things that are going about in the process. and that thing. And I've been interviewed by different senators and United States representatives in the process, but we're dealing with this issue with rent control in the process and lack of service and everything else. So that's basically what I'm here for today.
Thank you.
My other minute, I know, just let me have 2 minutes.
No, you
1
you
minute,
yielded,
okay.
you yielded
I know
your time.
I yield, but we talk.
But that's up to him. You
Okay.
yielded your time.
Yeah,
You
can I
can't yield that back on the mic.
Okay,
You
okay,
know that.
it's all right, it's all right. But you know, let's
Thank
talk.
you. No.
Okay, we could
It's-
do this.
it's
I know,
his-
we could do this. We could do that. I know. I appreciate you, but we can't put rent control with the
Thank
city.
you.
Thank you.
Next will be Daishan Lee. You'll have up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I am Daishan Lee, the Executive Director with the Georgia Federation of Public Service Employees. We hope you will be able, to join other elected officials as we celebrate the City of Atlanta employees and public services. Please see the invitations that we emailed each of you. As a side note, thank you to Councilmember Jason Dozer for joining us and 400 of our APS members in kicking off the new school year. Next week, we will be kicking off our FPSC open enrollment and membership drive in Atlanta. Each of you are able to join FPSC as council members and are entitled to the benefits as well. We hope you'll join us. I brought my executive assistant, Miss Liana Lee, and today she has prepared a package for each of you with invitations and memberships. So I hope that she will be able to present each of you with a package. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you. Next up will be Tracy Thornhill. Have up to 2 minutes.
Somebody left some keys down here. My name is Tracy Thornhill, Executive Director of ASME. Good evening, Council. Here to talk today about, over the past 2 months, I've been going around to different facilities, and the biggest problem that I'm coming up with is what we call involuntary promotions. People getting promoted from grade 16 or 17 to 19, from 18 to 20, from 19 to 21. And what this does is it takes them out of our protection. Even though they're doing the same job, they're driving the same trucks with the same crews, but what they did lose with this one step is their civil service protection. Civil service protection, I know you guys know civil service protection means a lot to city employees. And we're asking that you raise, because apparently you're not going to take them back to 18 and 17. We're asking at some point to raise the protection to grade 22, because these people are doing the same jobs as they were doing 5 years ago, and they want to be protected, and they keep coming to me and say, well, Thornhill, am I protected? I can't tell them anything. I didn't get any more money. I got maybe 75 cents. I'm losing my civil service rights for 75 cents. We really have a problem with that. And I'll be reaching out to you guys and meeting with a couple of you guys in the next month or so to let's see can we get this taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be Kevin McGee. You have up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin McGee. I'm the Executive Director of the Urban Oak Initiative, known to many in MPUV as Chef Kev, a plant-based chef. We're here today just to show our support and offer gratitude to Council Members Overstreet and Boone for their proposed ordinance allowing more money and allocating more money to fresh and healthy foods. For the past 3 years, courtesy of the Stadium Neighborhood Trust Fund grant, we've provided fresh and healthy foods throughout NPUV and communities such as Mechanicsville, Peoplestown, Summerhill, Pittsburgh. Currently, we're in the process of developing the Southeast's first plant-based community-focused commercial kitchen that will have the capacity and capability to distribute tens of thousands of pounds of fresh and healthy food to the community immediately in that area, as well as provide up to 20 opportunities for food entrepreneurs and their businesses as well. And so we just wanted to show our support today, and also look forward to talking to council members Winston and Dozier as well, and seeing how we can be of assistance and continue to provide fresh and healthy foods to the citizens of the city of Atlanta. Thank you for your time today. Yeah.
Thank you. Next will be Carlton Hayes. Have up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. It's Carlton Ham, like hamburger.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My name is Carlton Ham. I am the Vice President of AFME, Local 1644. I am a watershed employee for 29 years. 11 of those years I've been in watershed, which is a medium of wastewater, and it's the valve team. What we do is we cut water off, cut water on, hydrant flows, things of that sort. And what I'm here for today is, I think some of you have gotten emails for retaliation. I'm here to work with our commissioner so the retaliation force would be rectified. That is a problem for most of our employees. They are afraid for their job in some instances. So please look at the workplace retaliation. And again, I'm here to work with our commissioners so we can resolve any issues of that sort. So I don't have to come down here about that anymore. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Next will be Corey Waters. Have up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. About a month ago, I participated in public comment and called for a ban on horse-drawn carriages in the city. Since then, I've observed a conversation involving the media and some of you, and that conversation seems to be more about regulating horse-drawn carriages than banning horse-drawn carriages. I appreciate the initiative to regulate, but regulating will not prevent another horse from getting hit by a car and collapsing in their own blood. Without a ban, horses will continue to be at risk and will continue to be deprived. As I stated a month ago, they will not be able to run when they want to, rest when they want to, graze when they want to, socialize with other horses when they want to. They will continue to stand in their own urine, inhale car exhaust, and languish in stalls, deprived of choice day after day. Instead of regulating, let's enact a ban. As I said a month ago, a ban on horse-drawn carriages need not result in a loss of employment or income. In cities where horses are off the streets, demand for tours has persisted and been fulfilled by alternatives. Bus tours, electric bike tours, Segway tours, trolley tours, walking tours. And let me mention horseless e-carriages, meaning electric carriages. In Philadelphia, where horses are currently off the streets, even though a ban has not been enacted there, a horseless e-carriage was introduced this summer. Let's explore this alternative. Let's explore any alternative that does not involve tormenting horses. No one needs to lose a job, and we don't need to torment horses to make money. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Sharon Collins. Have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Sharon Collins. I am a longtime resident, and I have served this city for quite some time on many different capacities. But today I stand before you because I have pictures, and I don't know if you're going to take the time to look at them, but I have them. I also want to say that I've never seen such disrespect to my community as I have seen with the recent discussion of the unhoused housing. We were not informed of this legislation prior to its being introduced. We received it in the capacity that this is what we're doing and this is how we're going to do it. I have lived in this neighborhood long enough to know when you don't know your history, you end up repeating it. When the Atlanta Union Mission was in our community longer than what they had said they would be there, the problems were left behind even after they're gone. There are over 90 sites of tents throughout our one community, not including the gateway area that the people sit outside, not including under the underpass of the 20 or 75. Our main thing we want to do is to be heard for what we say and what we mean. The problems that Mechanicsville suffer through right now have not been addressed with the 90 different people who are throughout our community. So until we can find a solution for the people who are not working and are homeless and who are harassing the people of Mechanicsville, let's take it into consideration for the people who you're trying to put in without addressing the problems that we are already facing. And if you would like to see the pictures, I have them. Because the unhoused front door will be a liquor store.
Thank you. Next will be Tiffany Howard. You'll have up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, honorable Atlanta Council members. My name is Tiffany Howard, and I am the president of Stimulate America, a Georgia-based 501c3 organization who has served the community since 2009. This year, we launched our latest Stimulate America Impact Initiative called the Magnolia Club, which is a free club and a mental health wellness program for seniors aged 60 and older, providing them free resources and events that combat senior depression, designed to make them included, happy, and appreciated. Since April, we have held 10 edification events for our members across metropolitan Atlanta with our corporate partners that help support our seniors' quality of life by providing essential supplies, dropping off food to handicapped seniors, and on Friday, we're having our movie night event powered by Aetna, serving 3 senior West Side communities. Magnolia Club's largest program is Give Christmas to a Senior, which allows donators to fulfill the Christmas gift wishes of our senior members. Gifts collected for our Magnolia Club members will be presented to them at the Christmas Carol Celebration 2023, powered by Georgia Power's Energy Efficiency Program, featuring live entertainment, Christmas feast cuisine, and Georgia Power will be there to sign up members for senior light bill pay, discount services, and more. Christmas Carol Celebration 2023 occurs in 2 locations on 2 days, December 1st at the historic Simpson Street Church of Christ. But we need your help. We need more businesses to come out and help us provide these gifts for our legacy generation members. So please contact me at stimulateamerica.org or give us a call at 678-803-9737. Councilman Bond has already committed his support, so I thank you very much.
Thank you. Finally today, Reverend Washington. We'll have up to 2 minutes.
President Shook, council members, I've been waiting to hear either by email or text message or even the news that David Holloman of the City of Atlanta Police Department that pointed a gun at my chest has been arrested. Since he has not been arrested or he has not been intimidated, I thought it was an absolute shame and an embarrassment that I travel all across this country, but when coming back to the city that I love, the city that I fight for, myself, Reverend White, and others have fought in this city for Ahmaud Arbery, Rayshard Brooks, George Floyd, and what an absolute shame. I thought about it before Councilmember Byron Amos was elected. I fought on his campaign as well. What I cannot understand is how in the HEWLL that I need to be harassed by the ambassador for us, the Midtown Blue, Madam Norwood. What is this all about? Again, this all starts with David Holloman of the City of Atlanta Police Department, Madam Attorney Amber, that decided to false imprisonment me, point a gun at me, and allege that he was looking for an African American with multiple tattoos on his neck and his face. And as you can all see, I do not have none of those identifying elements or information or what is called probable cause or reasonable suspicion. None of those elements stood by. So again, I love this city. I ain't going nowhere, and I'm gonna stay here as long as I want to. And it's a public embarrassment that the City of Atlanta Police Department has decided to attack a preacher for doing good work in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all the members of the public who have come to address the council today. We will now move to the report of the Journal. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Teresa C. Payne, Interim Deputy Municipal Clerk, do hereby certify that the minutes of the special call meeting held August 16, 2023, and the regular meeting held August 21st, 2023 are true and correct.
If there are no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to adopt these 2 minutes. Moved by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Amos. Any discussion on the motion to adopt these 2 items? We do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection to the motion to adopt? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to adopt.
Unanimous consent, 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries. Next, we'll move to communications.
There are no communications.
Thank you. Is there any vetoed legislation for consideration today?
No vetoed legislation.
Is there any unfinished business?
No unfinished business.
Okay, with that, we will move to the consent agenda, section 1. This can be found on page 3 of the materials. These are items for second reading. The appropriate motion will be to adopt. But first, let me ask if there are any items to be removed from the consent agenda, section 1 today. I believe that there are. Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I have 2 to pull off of consent. The first one is on page 6, item number 12. It's item 23O1449. Again, that's page 6, number 12, 23O1449. And the second one is on page 11, item number 3, 23R3977. Again, page 11, number 3, 23R3977. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one item. It's ordinance 23-0-1446. This is on page 9, number 27.
These 3 items have been removed. Any others to be removed from the consent agenda, section 1 today? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda, section 1, with these items removed. Moved by Councilmember Juan, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Any discussion on the motion to adopt the consent agenda, section 1, with 3 items removed? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt the consent agenda, section 1.
The vote is open.
Waits is an aye.
Please vote. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt the consent agenda, section 1 carries. We'll now move to the consent agenda, section 2. It begins on page 23 of the materials. These are items for first reading. Thus, the appropriate motion will be to refer. But first, let me ask, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda, section 2? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to refer. Moved by Councilmember Juan, seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Is there any discussion on the motion to refer the consent agenda, section 2? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to refer.
The vote is open. Please vote. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to refer carries. We will now move to the report of standing committees. First up today will be Finance Exec, Chair Wan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we are on page 27 of the agenda. I'll go ahead and take the regular committee report item first and then go back to the ones that were pulled off of consent. The first item is 23-0-1413. It's an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to correct Ordinance 19-01175, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on May 6, 2019, and approved by operation of law on May 15, 2019, by removing the incorrect funding source and replacing it with the correct funding source and for other purposes. This came out favorable on condition from committee. The condition has been met. We are now ready to approve or adopt.
There's a motion coming out of committee to adopt 23-0-1413. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Deputy Clerk, or Madam Clerk, whoever's back there, please open the vote. People are moving around behind me. Please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll now go to the two that were pulled off of consent. The first item is 23-0-1449. This is an ordinance by council members Matt Westmoreland, Amir Faroki, and Alex Wan, as substituted by the Atlanta City Council, authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $2,500.00 to the Midtown High School Athletic Booster Club and for other purposes. I'll move to bring the substitute forward, which adds funding and changes the total donation amount. So I'll move to bring the substitute forward.
There's a motion by Councilmember Wan to bring forth the substitute. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Is there any discussion on the motion to bring forth the substitute? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to bring forth the substitute.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to bring forth substitute carries.
Now that the substitute is before us, I'll move to adopt on substitute.
There's a motion to adopt this item as substituted by Councilmember Wan. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt this item as substituted? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt as substituted carries.
All right, the next item was pulled off of consent was item 23R3977. There was a substitute for this that does not, well, actually it does change the caption, so I'll read in the caption and then make the motion to bring it forward. It's a resolution by council members Dustin Hillis, Byron D. Amos, and Mary Norwood as substituted by the Finance Executive Committee and as substituted by the Atlanta City Council, authorizing the mayor or his designee to issue task order number listed for contract number listed, job order contracting services large, with P2K and Lefco, a joint venture for Howell Mill Road Complete Street Project on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation in an amount not to exceed $21,496,725.00. All work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed and for other purposes. The substitute adds language for a potential incentive payment. I'll make the motion to bring the substitute forward.
There's a motion by Councilmember Wan to bring forth the substitute. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Bakhtiari. Is there any discussion on the motion to bring forth the substitute? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to bring forth the substitute.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries.
All right, I do have a question for this, and I don't see anybody from finance sitting there. I don't know if, I don't want to put this on Amber A. Robinson either. So the incentive payment, I'm just going to put this out there, and maybe we might need to put this to the side before finance. The incentive payment is what's new on this, and I know that we had a conversation in committee about this particular project being a rollover from the original Renew Atlanta project list. So my question is, I'm wondering if this is going to hopefully be a standard in all of the remaining Renew Atlanta project contracts as a way to try and accelerate program delivery. And I don't know if Mr. Hillis or any other sponsors know the answer to that question. I'm excited about it. I'm hoping this is it's going to be a constant going forward. Do you have anyone? All right, seeing none. Mr. President, I would ask that if we can just put this to the side until someone from finance gets down here. Because I do think, particularly with some of the big projects that are still remaining on the Renew Atlanta project list, folks will be interested to see if this is the new MO going forward to speed those up.
The appropriate motion would be to postpone.
All right, I'll make the motion to postpone.
Motion by Councilmember Juan to postpone, seconded by many people, but I'll give it to Councilmember Amos since he hasn't had one today. Any discussion on the motion to postpone? We do this via unanimous consent without objection. Any objection to the motion to postpone? Madam Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to postpone this item.
Unanimous consent is 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next standing committee report, which will be the Committee on Council. It will be delivered today by the Vice Chair, Councilmember Amos.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually have 2 items on the standing committee report for Committee on Council. First one is Communication 23-C-5102, communication from Mayor Andre Dickens appointing Mr. Reginald Roby to serve on the member of the Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission. This came out as favorable from the committee. Move to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt the Communication 23-C-5102 coming out of committee. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt this item? Given that it's a communication, we can do this via unanimous consent. Is there any objection to the motion to adopt this item? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to adopt.
Unanimous consent is 13 yeas, 0 nays. 13
yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Thank you. The next item is 23-0-1459, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcel Collier Overstreet to retroactively extend the due date by which the Procurement Reform Task Force shall provide written recommendations pursuant to Resolution 22-R-3712 until June 30th, 2024, and for other purposes. It came out the committee favorable as well. Move to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt 23-0-1459 coming out of committee. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
Lewis, yes. Juan is an aye.
Juan and Lewis, please reflect both as ayes.
The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am with one announcement, reminding my colleagues to please send your recommendations for the Atlanta Commission on Women to Ms. Bridget Brown. She has asked me to make that announcement to make sure all of us get that in as soon as possible for the commission to get up and going, and that completes the report of the Committee on Council.
Thank you, Vice Chair Amos. Next, we'll move to the Zoning Committee. Chair Overstreet.
Okay. Everyone, please turn your agendas to page 35 for the zoning report. We'll start with ordinances for second read. I'll take items as a block 1 through 4, Mr. President, if that's okay.
Without objection, please proceed.
Thank you. Legislative number 23-0-1373. Case number Z-23-37. Locations 952, 964, and 966 Watkins Street Northwest, 949 and 951 3rd Street Northwest, 678, 686 and 688 10th Street Northwest, 955 and 961 Image Avenue Northwest. The ordinance is to rezone from I-1 UPWO Light Industrial Upper West Side Overlay to C2 UPWO Commercial Service District Upper West Side Overlay and PDOC UPWO Planned Development Office Commercial Upper West Side Overlay to MRC3 UPWO Mixed Residential Commercial Upper West Side Overlay. Number 2, 23-0-1374, case number Z-23-38. Location 3424 Browns Mill Road, Southeast. The ordinance is to rezone from R4 Single Family Residential to I1 Light Industrial. Number 3, 23-0-1375, case number Z-23-39. Location 2176 Main Street Northwest. The ordinance is to rezone from R4A Single Family Residential to R4B Single Family Residential. And number 4, 23-0-1376, case number U-23-13. The location is 54 Far Road Northeast. The ordinance is for a special use permit for a place of worship. Items number 1 through 4 were favorable, so the motion is to adopt.
There's a motion coming out of committee to adopt these 4 items. Doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt these items? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt these 4 items.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt these 4 items carries.
Thank you. I'd like to take items 5 and 6 as a block, Mr. President.
Without objection, please proceed.
Thank you. Legislative number 5, 23-0-1372, case number Z-23-36. Location 1213 Hill Street Southeast and 228 Milton Avenue Southeast. The ordinance is to rezone from R4ABL Single Family Residential Beltline Overlay to PDHBL Planned Development Housing Beltline Overlay. And number 6, 23-0-1377. Case number U-23-14. Locations are 952, 964, and 966 Watkins Street Northwest, 949 and 951 3rd Street Northwest, 678, 686, and 688 10th Street Northwest, 955 and 961 Image Avenue Northwest. The ordinance is for a special use permit for a hotel. Items 5 and 6 were favorable as amended, so the motion is to adopt as amended.
There's a motion coming out of committee to adopt as amended these 2 items. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt these 2 items? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt these 2 items as amended.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Will everyone please vote?
Got to. Alex, they didn't hear you.
The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt these items carries.
Thank you. And now we move on to first reads. We have one, item number 7. Legislative number 23-0-1468, case number MRPA 23-07, location 3990 Paces Ferry Road Northwest. The ordinance is to grant a certificate under the provisions of the Metropolitan River Protection Act to allow the construction of an addition to a single-family residence. I move to refer item number 7 to Zoning Committee.
There's a motion to refer 23-0-1468 by Councilmember Overstreet to zoning. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Is there any discussion on the motion to refer this item? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to refer.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to refer carries.
Thank you, and that concludes the zoning report.
Thank you, Chair Overstreet. Next up will be the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee, Chair Hillis.
Mr. President, we have two items. 23-0-1340, an ordinance by Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee to authorize the mayor to enter into a settlement agreement on behalf of the city with Skyline Outdoor Media Services, Inc. and Ross Antonakos to resolve all claims against defendant City of Atlanta in the case of Skyline Outdoor Media Services, Inc. and Ross Antonakos versus City of Atlanta and Gregory Pace, civil action file number listed pending in the Superior Court of Fulton County, to authorize the Director of the Office of Buildings to issue a sign permit for a billboard to be located on property at 1395 Woodmont Lane Northwest, to have any provision of Part 16 zoning, Chapter 28A, Chapter 44, or any other chapter of the Atlanta zoning ordinance, and for other purposes. The motion of the committee is to file.
There's a motion coming out of committee to file 23-0-1340. It doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to file this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to file carries.
Next item is 23-0-1456, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier to amend Chapter 10, Article 2, Division 5, Section 10-226 to clarify the operational rules for sports coliseums to be consistent with the operational rules for private functions and for other purposes. The motion out of the committee was to adopt, but it's my understanding that the author may have some other thing to speak to.
So motion coming out of committee to adopt doesn't need a second. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, for this particular item, as you can see, I am the author of this paper. I've had several conversations with the law department over the last couple of weeks, as well as with the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena. And I know there was some conversation around this paper in Public Safety Legal Administration Committee last week. And so just for the public record, I want to ask the law department, they can articulate some of the points that were made and share with me about not only the legislation, but was discussed in committee. I understand that this matter is of key importance to State Farm Arena, and I just want to make sure we do this right, but I just want to get that clarity on the record before we move forward. But I want to make sure that folks understand some of the context of the discussion, if law can indulge me.
Good afternoon, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. During the Public Safety and Legal Administration Committee, there was discussion by a representative of the State Farm Arena who came and spoke to this paper. During that presentation, State Farm Arena's position was stated as being their intention is to offer different pricing of alcoholic beverages within the week depending on the type of event, meaning there would be different prices for a Hawks game versus a concert versus another sort of rental of the facility. In that description, it became obvious that there would be no establishment of any price, quote, regularly charged by State Farm Arena under the scenario as presented. And without there being any price regularly charged by a particular alcohol establishment, it would not be proper to say that 10-266 subsection 4, which is what this paper purports to provide clarity or an exemption for a sports coliseum, i.e. State Farm Arena, from, would be necessary. It is necessary to establish a violation of 10-266A4, that there be regularly charged prices. Without regularly charged prices, there is no violation of 10-266A4, and therefore the exemption as requested in this legislation would be unnecessary based upon the description by State Farm Arena's counsel.
Thank you. And it's just recognizing that there isn't a need for this legislation for those entities to do what they're looking to do. As the author of this legislation, I would like to make a substitute motion to file.
There's a motion by Councilmember Dozier to file 23-0-1456. There's a second by Councilmember Juan. Is there any discussion on the motion to file this item? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 12 yeas, 1 nay.
12 yeas, 1 nay. The motion to file carries.
Thank you, President Shipman. That completes today's report. I will just let everyone know that with the consent agenda today, we did pass unanimously legislation to recapture, I guess, currently our former fire chief, Roderick Smith. He'll be returning to the city sometime later this month. So I know there is a lot of work to be done in the fire department, and I look forward to working with him to get the fire department to where it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hillis. Next up will be City Utilities Committee. Chair Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no report today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up will be CDHS. Chair Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. As was stated earlier, we had one item that we pulled off consent. This was ordinance 23-0-1446. This is an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos authorizing the Chief Financial Officer or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to transfer funds from the Department of Grants and Community Development General Fund account to the Community Development Block Grant Fund account in an amount not to exceed $121,457.25 to satisfy costs previously believed to be disallowed costs from the expired grant contracts with Community Advanced Practice Nurses, Central Outreach, and Nicholas House, all expenses to be payable and to be paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Colleagues, we have a substitute for this item. This substitute does not change the caption. However, it does correct some of the funding account numbers in the legislation. The substitute was sent to all of you before this meeting, and so I'll go ahead and move to bring forth that substitute.
There's a motion to bring forth substitute by Councilmember Dozier, seconded by Councilmember Juan. Is there any discussion on the motion to bring forth substitute? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to bring forth the substitute.
Vote is open. Would everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to bring forth the substitute carries.
All right, colleagues, I move to adopt as substituted.
Motion by Councilmember Dozier to adopt 23-0-1446, a substitute. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Winston, because he was quick on that one. Any discussion on the motion to adopt as substituted? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt as substituted.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays, the motion to adopt carries.
Colleagues, this concludes legislative items. However, I do have one announcement. Just a reminder that tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock p.m., it's a third quarter comprehensive development plan land use amendment public hearing. It will be in these Marvin S. Harrington City Council chambers. Like I said, 6 o'clock tomorrow, September 6th. You do not have to be a member of the Community Development and Human Services Committee to join us for this public hearing. And so I hope to see all of you there. But that is all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chair Dozier. Final standing committee report today will be Transportation and Chair Faroki.
Thank you, President Shipman. The first item is 23C5090 is item 1 on page 52. It's a communication from Dayton Hampton Chair Audit Committee submitting the performance audit report on the plane train. And coming out of committee, the motion is to file.
There's a motion coming out of committee to file 23-C-5090. Doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to file? Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to file this item.
The vote is open.
Yeah, this may be accept and file and not file. This is just a report that we want to, it's not a, yeah, so let me withdraw that motion and make a new motion to accept and file. Thank you.
There's a motion now on the table to accept and file 23-C-5090. I'll take a second since it didn't come out of committee. Seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Is there any discussion on the motion to accept and file this item? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to accept and file.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays.
Councilmember Westmoreland? Councilmember Westmoreland? How would you like your vote reflected? It's Councilmember Westmoreland's an aye.
Thirteen yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to accept and file carries.
Our second and final item is 23R4025. It's item 2 on page 52. It's a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the acceptance of communications support sponsorship for the Atlanta Streets Alive program for Propel ATL Inc., a nonprofit entity, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Propel ATL Inc., further describing such sponsorship and for other purposes. This came out of committee favorable on a condition that ATL DOT would provide a breakdown of the Streets Alive financials. This condition has been met. The motion will be to adopt.
There's a motion to adopt 23-R-4025 coming out of committee. Doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt this item? Hearing none, we'll move to vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The motion, Councilmember Boone, actually, how do you want your vote? Councilmember Boone's an aye.
Thank you. 13 yeas, 0 nays.
13 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to adopt carries.
Concludes the committee's report.
Thank you, Chair Faroki. I would invite Councilmember Juan back up regarding his FEC item, if he is ready. It does not take a vote. It simply was postponed, so we can simply go back to that item.
All right, colleagues, I did get a response from the Department of Transportation about the incentive program. I'll share with you that it is their intent to try and incorporate that into remaining projects with Renew Atlanta 2015 bond funds. And so I would suggest that those of us that have large outstanding projects when they come online to work with the department to see if we can fund those incentive programs going forward. And the source of funding is within the bond itself. So with that, I'll make a motion to adopt on substitute.
There's a motion to adopt 23-R-3977 as substitute. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Bakhtiari. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt as substituted? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the vote on the motion to adopt as substituted.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 11 yeas, 0 nays.
11 yeas, 0 nays. Motion to adopt as substitute carries.
That concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our standing committee reports today. Councilmember Hillis.
Make a motion to send the previous item to the mayor's office post haste.
There's a motion to send the item that was just adopted, which is 23-R-3977, post haste, the mayor's office. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Juan. Is there any discussion on the motion to move post haste? We can do this via unanimous consent. Any objection to the motion to move this item post haste? Madam Clerk, please sound the count on unanimous consent on the motion to move post haste.
Unanimous consent is 12 yeas, 0 nays.
12 yeas, 0 nays. The motion to move post haste carries. With that, we will move to personal papers. I see none for immediate consideration, so we will move to those for referral. We'll start with Councilmember Amos.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. AMS number ID 33493, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos authorizing the City of Atlanta pursuant to Section 6-306 of the Charter of the City of Atlanta to donate $500,000.00 to the United Way for Greater Atlanta to support the Atlanta Youth Fund, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorizing the chief financial officer or his designee to move all payments from the account listed herein and for other purposes.
AMS ID 33493 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
AMS number ID 33495, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos authorizing the City of Atlanta to accept an in-kind donation of the Inner City Explore Mindfulness Program with an estimated value in the amount of $55,000.00 from the Greenlight Fund Atlanta pursuant to Section 102C7 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support the ATL Year of the Youth mayoral initiative, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate receipt of the donation and for other purposes.
AMS ID 33495 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
And last one, AMS number 33428, an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos, an ordinance to ratify services rendered in connection with special procurement agreement SP-S1210301, indirect cost allocation analysis for Incivis Incorporated, beginning September 9th, 2023, and to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise the first renewal option under the agreement on behalf of the Department of Finance for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective from September 9th, 2023 through September 8th, 2024, with no additional fees and for other purposes.
AMS ID 33428 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next will be Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. First paper, ELMS ID number 33431, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to amend Chapter 106, Division 1, Section 106-403A of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances so as to add new drug-free commercial zones as described herein, to waive conflicting ordinances and code sections and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33431 will be referred to the Public Safety Committee.
Thank you. Elms ID number 33468, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari requesting the mayor, his designee, to make the intersection of Roger Street Northeast and Roger Street Southeast at the Arizona Lofts an always stop controlled intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33468 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID number 33459, an ordinance by Councilmembers Matt Westmoreland. I think this is supposed to say by Councilmembers Matt Westmoreland and Liliana Bakhtiari, not Howard Shook, authorizing a donation in the amount not to exceed $10,000.00 from the District 5 and Post 2 at large carry forward accounts to In-Town Collaborative Ministries, Inc., and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33459 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Give me one moment. Elms ID number 33469, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, or I'm sorry, let me pronounce it the way it was spelled, Bakhtiari, a resolution requesting the mayor, his designee, to install traffic calming devices on Montgomery Street Southeast from Hosea Williams Drive Southeast to Woodbine Avenue Southeast and for other purposes.
That's a rough pronunciation of your name.
Elms ID 33469 we refer to the Transportation Committee.
Oh, no. Elms ID number 33456, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari to amend the rules of council to utilize inclusive, gender-neutral language throughout and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33456, that's the one you just read in, yes?
Say that again.
456 will be referred to the Committee on Council.
Thank you. Elms ID number 33472, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari, again, a resolution requesting the mayor, his designee, to install traffic calming devices on Montgomery Street Southeast from Hosea Williams Drive, Southeast to Woodbine Avenue, Southeast and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33472 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you. That concludes.
Thank you.
My personal papers.
Councilmember Boone.
An ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone, Elms ID number 33404, amending the city's 2015 to 2019 Consolidated Plan, 2023, the Community Development Grant Fund Budget, the 2016 Annual Action Plan Budget, the 2017 Annual Action Plan Budget for the purpose of reprogramming of Home Investment Partnership Program, Home Program, in an amount not to exceed $1,956,376.91, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Grants and Community Development to enter into service agreements with subrecipients for the purpose of executing various contractual agreements for projects that are assigned to the Department of Grants and Community Development and other departments of the City of Atlanta and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33404 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
Elms ID 33407, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea Boone to amend City Council Ordinance 23-0-1360, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on approved 7/2023 and approved by operation of law on August 11, 2023, to authorize adding the funding streams for Community Development Block Grant CDBG program projects approved for funding from the 2023 Notice of Funding Availability, which were erroneously excluded from the exhibits to the ordinance and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33407 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. My first item is Elms ID number 33406, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier, authorizing the mayor and his designee to apply for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Pathways to Removing Obstacles to Housing grant funding, if awarded, to accept such funding, to enter into any necessary grant agreements to amend the fiscal year 2024 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations up to $10 million and 0 cents, and for other purposes. A 15-day public comment period and a public hearing is required. The public hearing will be held on October 16th, 2023 during the full council meeting.
Elms ID 33406 will be referred to the CDHS committee.
The next item is ELMS number 33484, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to make an all-way stop control intersection at Atwood Street Southwest and Sales Avenue Southwest to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33484 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
And my last item is ELMS number 33485, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Windsor Street Southwest from Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard Southwest to Love Street Southwest and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33485 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
That concludes my personal papers.
Thank you. Councilmember Faroki.
If it's all right, I'd like to defer. I'm waiting on one more paper to
Okay,
my desk.
sure. Councilmember Norwood.
ELMS ID 33376, an ordinance by Councilmember Mary Norwood authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $820.00 from the District 8 carry forward account to the Atlanta Memorial Park Conservancy and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33376 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
ELMS ID 33486, a resolution by Councilmember Mary Norwood to sunset the Buckhead Public Safety Task Force created by action of the Atlanta City Council pursuant to Resolution 22R3001 and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33486 will be referred to the Committee on Council. Thank you. Councilmember Overstreet. No, we can go to a couple others if you need time. Councilmember Waits.
Good afternoon. ELMS ID number 33323. This is an ordinance by Keisha Waits to amend the chapter 130 Solid Waste Management, Article 1 in general, Section 130-12. This is for enforcement, violations, and penalties to update fine provisions for failure to maintain public or privately owned property in the right-of-ways.
ELMS ID 33233, I believe was, yes, will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Thank you, sir. ELMS ID 33378. This is a resolution by Keisha Waits to urge the City of Atlanta to implement the recommendations of the Atlanta Housing Commission regarding to the use of building that beloved Community Housing Trust Fund and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33378 will be jointly referred to CDHS and FEC committees.
All right. ELMS ID 33378. This is a resolution by Keisha Waits to urge the City of Atlanta. I think this is the same document. That's the actual one. My apologies, everyone. ELMS ID 33502. This is a resolution by Keisha Sean Waits urging the mayor, his designee, to consider acquiring the Wellstar property for site development for the use of the John Robert Lewis Health and Wellness Center and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33502 will be referred to the CDHS Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, President Shipman. First item is ELMS ID 33430, resolution by Councilmember Alex Wan declaring the official intent of the City of Atlanta to reimburse expenditures for certain capital expenditures related to the construction of certain projects with proceeds of debt and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33430 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
ELMS ID 33349, a resolution by Councilmember Alex Wan granting the local government approval required by Georgia rules for safe drinking water, section Georgia Comp R and Regs number listed to install, operate, and maintain a public drinking water system in the Georgia Institute of Technology's Candida Living Building in accordance with the Georgia rules and the applicable city code and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33349 will be referred to the City Utilities Committee.
Elms ID 33488, an ordinance by Councilmember Alex Wan waiving Article 10, Division 4 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute contracts with sponsors, performers, artists, venues, and vendors necessary to effectuate the City of Atlanta's hosting of events celebrating Black Pride and Pride Month in the City of Atlanta, also known as the Pride Events, for the benefit of the public, and allowing the mayor's office to charge admission fees for select Pride events, to authorize the City of Atlanta to accept donations for the purpose of supporting the city's actions related to hosting Pride events through December 31, 2023, calendar year 23, to authorize all costs to be paid from and all revenues and donations to be deposited into the Civic and Cultural Event Trust Fund account listed, to declare that the authorities granted herein shall be retroactive to July 1, 2023, and to ratify any actions taken in accordance with such authorities prior to the approval of this ordinance and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33488 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID 33483, an ordinance by Councilmember Alex Wan to establish and approve the implementation of an open market commercial property assessed clean energy program, the CPACE program, in and for the City of Atlanta, and requesting the Downtown Development Authority of the City of Atlanta, the authority, to incur from time to time its commercial property assessed clean energy obligations, consisting of 1, commercial property assessed clean energy taxable revenue bonds, and 2, commercial property assessed clean energy taxable promissory notes, together the CPACE obligations in the combined maximum aggregate authorized principal amount not to exceed $500 million in order to finance the provision of certain intergovernmental services to the City of Atlanta, including 1, implementation of certain eligible CPACE improvements to eligible commercial property within the Atlanta Property Assessed Clean Energy District, number 1. 3, oh, I skipped one, sorry. No, I didn't. I got it. Okay. 3, monitoring and periodic reporting of the attainment of CPACE program goals. And 4, to pay the cost of issuing such CPACE obligations, to authorize the mayor to execute, deliver, and perform an intergovernmental assessment agreement and a program administration agreement, to approve the Atlanta Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program guidelines, to approve a form of assessment contract, to authorize acknowledgement of service and the filing of an answer on behalf of the city in connection with validation proceedings for the CPACE obligations, to authorize certain related actions all in connection with the issuance of the CPACE obligations and for other related purposes.
Elms ID 33483 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Elms ID 33449, a resolution by Councilmember Alex Wan authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management to adjust water and sewer service charges on certain customer accounts incurred due to burst water service lines in the amount of blank and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33449 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
And Elms ID 33447, a resolution by Councilmember Alex Wan authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to refund customers for overpayments to water and sewer accounts in an amount of blank, all funds to be charged to and paid from fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33447 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Elms 33492, a resolution by Matt Westmoreland authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $700,000 to the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metro Atlanta pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support the Level Up program, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into necessary agreements to effectuate the donation and to authorize the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33492 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
33405, authorizing the Chief Financial Officer or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to transfer expenditure amount from the 2019 Intergovernmental Grant Fund budget for the Housing Opportunities with Persons Living with AIDS, HOPWA Fund, source to the 2020 Intergovernmental Grant Fund budget for the HOPWA program in an amount not to exceed $461,681.48 to successfully close out the 2020 HOPWA grant agreement with U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and to satisfy costs for the Healthy Housing Aid Atlanta HOPWA capital acquisition project and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33405 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
33460 by Westmoreland and Shook, authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $5,000 to the Garden Hills Civic Association from the District 7 carry forward account for Frankie Allen Park, now known as Bagley Park, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33460 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
33487 by Westmoreland to amend Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 10-92B of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances so as to provide an exemption from the distance requirements for package stores licensed to sell malt beverages and/or wine by the package listed in Section 10-88.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for one package store located at 2455 Piedmont Road, Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30324, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33487 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two items. The first one is Elms ID 33420, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Watershed Management to adjust water and sewer services charges on certain customer accounts incurred due to burst water service lines in the amount of $102,404.89 and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33420 will be referred to the Utilities Committee.
Next is Elms 33471, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston authorizing Amendment Number 2 to agreement listed for emergency on-call debris removal services with Ceres Environmental Services, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation to add additional funding in an amount not to exceed $700,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33471 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis. No? You ready? I can go to Faroki first if you want. Okay, Councilmember Faroki.
Thank you, Council President Shipman. The first item is Elms ID 33503, a resolution by Council Members Faroki and Dozier requesting that Invest Atlanta explore financing solutions to aid residents in the construction and maintenance of attached dwelling units and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33503 will be referred to the CHS Committee.
A resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the mayor or their designee to apply for a fiscal year 2023 U.S. Department of Transportation Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods Discretionary Capital Construction Grant in an amount not to exceed $250 million and no cents for planning, design, and construction of Phase 1 of the Stitch and for other purposes.
Is that 33496?
A resolution by Council.
What, sorry? 33498? Oh, 33498 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID 33393, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki requesting that the Parks and Recreation Department conduct a safety audit of Candler Park Golf Course and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33393 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
Elms number 33478, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the transfer of $25,000.00 from the this is a typo. It says post to a large carry forward account, but it should be District 2. Actually, you know what? Let's keep it post to.
Yeah, I was going to say, you shouldn't change that. Right?
There's more money over there. Let me reread this. An ordinance by Councilmember Faroki authorizing the transfer of $25,000.00 from the District 2 carry forward account to the District 2 distribution account and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33478 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Resolution 33505, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the mayor or his this is a typo as well, his designee to install stop signs along McClendon Avenue Northeast at the intersections of Elmira Place Northeast, Ferguson Street Northeast, Mill Avenue Northeast, and Brooks Avenue Northeast, and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33505 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID 33496, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an amended project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation and an amended project management agreement with the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District for the I-75-A85 capping study, the Stitch PI 0019180 to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute all agreements related to the Stitch and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33496 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID 33455, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Faroki to waive certain provisions in section 16-20.007A4 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, to waive certain provisions in section 16-28A .010 parenthetical 1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, to waive section 16-28.007D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, to authorize the removal of a privately owned sign and its supporting structure, and to permit an animated flashing and changing sign not to exceed 60 square feet to be erected at 1083 Austin Avenue Northeast, and for other purposes. And that was Elms ID 33455.
ID 33455 will be jointly referred to zoning and ZRB.
And then finally, Elms ID 33470, a resolution by Councilmember Mayor Farocki, authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Angier Avenue Northeast and Garden Park Drive Northeast to install stop signs at the intersection.
Elms ID 33470 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Overstreet. Oh, you're, oh, okay.
Elms ID number 33506. An ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, an ordinance to amend Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 10-94A of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances so as to provide an exemption from the distance requirements applicable to establishments selling alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises listed in Section 10-88 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for the John A. White Park Golf Course owned by the City of Atlanta and operated in accordance with an intergovernmental agreement with the Atlanta Fulton County Recreation Authority and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33506 will be referred to the Finance Exec Committee.
Okay, Elms ID number 33418, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, an ordinance to waive certain provisions in Section 16-18T005 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances related to the drive-through services window so as to allow an eating and drinking establishment at 2845 Greenbrier Parkway Southwest to operate a drive-through service window and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33418 will be jointly referred to the Zoning Committee and ZRB.
Okay. Elms ID 33419, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, an ordinance to amend Part 3 Land Development Code, Part 16, Chapter 43, Sub Area 4, Section 16-43.009, relationship to building to street of the Campbellton Road overlay and for other purposes.
Elms ID 33419 will be jointly referred to the Zoning Committee and ZRB.
Okay, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, a resolution requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study at the intersection of Tail Road Southwest and Fabron Road Southwest to determine the need of any safety improvements such as traffic calming devices, reduced speeds, or stop signs, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to widen Tail Road Southwest at Fabron Road Southwest for other purposes.
33473 or 74? There's no number?
7-4 is a little different.
Okay.
So.
I think that's Elms 33473, and it should be referred to the Transportation Committee.
And you got the Elms number for the first one, right? That wasn't on the... Elms ID number 33474, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, a resolution requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study at the intersection of Stone Road Southwest and Fabron Road Southwest to determine the need of any safety improvements such as traffic calming devices, reduced speeds, or stop signs for other purposes.
Elms ID 33474 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Elms ID number 33417, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, an ordinance to amend Part 3 Land Development Code Part 16, Chapter 32, Section 16-32F.002.9D, Cascade Heights Neighborhood Commercial District, and for other purposes.
Holmes ID 33417 will be jointly referred to the zoning and ZRB.
ELMS ID number 33494, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, a resolution requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a study on the installation of traffic signal system at the intersection of Niskey Lake Circle Southwest and Danforth Road Southwest, and for other purposes.
Holmes ID 33494 will be referred to the Transportation Committee.
Last one, ELMS ID number 33461, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet to waive Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 1, Section 2-910, grant applications to ratify the City of Atlanta's submission of an application on behalf of the Mayor's Office of International and Immigrant Affairs, MOIIA, and to accept Shelter and Services Program, SSP, funding from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, in an amount not to exceed $3,637,132.00 to execute any necessary grant agreements to amend the fiscal year 2023 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $3,637,132.00, all funds to be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Holmes ID 33461 will be referred to the CDHS Committee. Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, President. ELMS ID 33342, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis, an ordinance for a special use permit for a shelter pursuant to Section 1610.005(1)H for property located at 541 Mobile Avenue Southwest, and waiving the 2,000 feet distance requirement for shelters pursuant to Section 16-29.00171A1, and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33342 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
ELMS ID 33504, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis to amend the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinance to mandate all retail businesses within the City of Atlanta accept cash payments, to establish secure digital transaction hubs, and for other purposes.
ELMS ID 33504 will be referred to the CDHS Committee.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. I believe that's all. Any other items for referral today? Okay, with that, we'll move into general remarks. Councilmember Boone.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. On Friday, September 8th, District 10 will be hosting a movie in the park. Please come out to see Fast X featuring Ludacris on this Friday, 8 p.m. at the C.T. Martin Recreation Center. Come out and join us for popcorn and a movie with the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I wanted to let my constituents know about a bunch of programming that we're having next weekend, kicking off on Thursday, September 14th. We are going to be having our 7th quarterly town hall. It will be, I'm particularly excited about this one because even though it is hybrid, you'll want to be there in person because we are hosting it at the Georgia Aquarium. So just thank you to the Georgia Aquarium and our partners for allowing our constituents to have free access to the aquarium. That will be at 6:30 next Thursday. That Friday at Rosa Birney Park in Mechanicsville at 6:30, we'll be doing a movie night as well with the Department of Parks and Recreation. We'll be showing the Mario Brothers movie. Saturday in Mosley Park, We're doing a family fun day at 11 a.m. And then Sunday at 4 p.m., we are doing a family-friendly dance party at West End Park. This is our office's celebration of District 4 and its diversity and its diverse communities. And my team has called it Dozier Day weekend, but I'm just saying we're celebrating District 4 as best as we know how. So I hope you all join us, even if you're not a constituent. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
First, I want to say thank you to everyone who came out to our Christmas in September event. This year, we were able to help over 800 families. And with the partnership with Nike, this year we were able to get good shoes out to folks. So this year was our second annual in partnership with Caring for Others, second annual Christmas in September, in which I actually got to put on a Santa Claus hat and get out in a sleigh myself. And so super excited about this year and can't wait to see next year. Anybody who wants to know, Labor Day is Christmas in September in District 12. And so I look forward to seeing folks next year at Labor Day on Christmas in September. Next, I want to make sure I announce that this Friday, for the third week, we'll be continuing our food giveaway. This Friday, similar to 2 weeks ago, we're trying to hit up to 1,000 families. And the one thing that I make sure we have is a carton of eggs and some chicken. We make sure we give away a carton of eggs and a chicken to 1,000 families in District 12 every other week, because we do know that food insecurity is still a big deal. And we see the lines. When you see the lines start at Roselle Fan and go all the way down to Cleveland Avenue Barbershop, Cleveland Avenue Library, you know that the need is still there. And so I want to say thank you, President, for letting me make these announcements.
Thank you. Councilmember Amos.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Got a few today. 1 year anniversary for Mr. Dennis Conway. Another 1 year anniversary for our very own photographer, Stefan Dennis. 1 year anniversary for my constituent service manager, Janae Broadnatz. We also have a 12-year anniversary of Miss Evelyn Scott in the municipal clerk's office. Mr. Lamar Parks, municipal clerk office, 26 years of service. And then a lady that we all know and love, Chief Claudia Nash, Atlanta Fire and Rescue, 48 years of service to the city of Atlanta. So definitely want to wish them happy anniversaries to everyone. Then also, it finally happened, the first, but definitely not the last. We had a Walmart meeting. Walmart is definitely coming back May 2024 to ML King. Also, we were able to meet with the leadership of CSX Railroad with the community of Hunter Hills as well to talk about what we can do with those situations. And last but not least, today, we have an alternate Walk With Me Wednesday, because today is Tuesday, but we will be in Harvell Homes tonight at 7 o'clock walking with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winston.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to put a reminder out to the City Utilities Committee that the Department of Public Works is organizing a tour of the MRF recycling site in Conyers for members of the City Utilities Committee for this Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Depending on the number of attendees that we have, they are planning to offer transportation for those who would like to attend. So if you could please get those RSVPs in today so we can get a number of people that want to attend the recycling center tour this Friday. And then lastly, I want to send a special early happy birthday to my daughter Banks, who will be 3 this Thursday. Hey. Happy birthday. Daddy loves you. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you, Council President. First and foremost, always recognizing Labor Day weekend and the labor movement. So thank you to everyone for all you do. Also, this Thursday, we are starting, my office is starting something new called Cocktails with Council Member. This does not mean that you have to come and drink alcohol. We have coffee with the council member on weekends. And one Sunday a month, we wanted to add something because a lot of constituents expressed that they cannot always make it on a weekend. So this Thursday, at 7 p.m. from 5 to 7 p.m. At our bar on Edgewood Avenue, we'll be having another community event. So please, you can come speak with me about anything you'd like. We'll be doing these once a month, so we will have a community calendar posted soon. Lastly, there were some comments that, towards the beginning, and general comments that typically we like to let those public comment be a time for people to express things, but every once in a while we'll hear something that is rather dangerous, and I would like to address something that was mentioned, this idea that people in the LGBTQ community are synonymous with perverts and pedophiles. As a member of that community, I can assure you that is not true. My community is not responsible for crime in this city. There is crime rampant, and APD is doing everything they can to deal with it. But I think it is important to call out bigotry and prejudice like that, because it is comments like that that have led to a number of Black trans women being murdered in this city. And that is completely, we have to do everything we can to stand up against it. So I wanted to take a moment to address that, because while there is crime, it is not synonymous with people that fall within the LGBTQIA+ community. It is statements like that that are incredibly dangerous. So I appreciate you giving me the time to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. I would add one, next Tuesday on September 12th, the Office of Ethics will be celebrating their 20th anniversary with an event in the atrium since the establishment of that office. So I wanted to highlight that and the work that they do every day. Any other, Councilmember Waits?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Safety Commission will hold their final meeting on September 27th. As you are aware, we have sunset that committee given other obligations from members of that committee. So September 27th will be the final meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you. On Thursday, September the 7th, we will also be at Cascade, on Cascade Road, discussing the Cascade Complete Streets project at Hillside Truth Center, and that's also located on Cascade. ATL-DOT is hosting, and this is probably our third meeting about the complete streets, and it's just to make sure that we stay on track. This is our agreement with the community that we're meeting between every 3 and 6 months about the Cascade Complete Streets until it is completed. So I will see everyone Thursday at 7 o'clock at Hillside.
Right, thank you. Any others? With that, I would ask the clerk to please sound the adjourning roll call.
Council President Shipman.
Present.
Council members Bond. Council members Westmoreland, Waits, Winston, Faroki, Amos, Dozier, Bakhtiari, Juan, Shook, Norwood, Hillis, Boone, Overstreet, and Lewis.
Thank you. Hearing no objection, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all.